Right now, there's a war happening inside you, a war between who you've been conditioned to be and the person you're destined to become, and for the first time in a long time, you're about to take your power back. But to do that, you need to go silent. You need to disconnect not from them, but from the patterns that have kept you prisoner. And this next 7 days, it's not just a break. It's a rebirth. You're not stuck because of them, you're stuck because of the pattern you've been caught in. The loop, the emotional addiction, the story you keep living on repeat that says, if I just do more, if I just say it right this time, if I can prove my worth, then maybe they'll finally show up. But let's get brutally honest. How many times have you reached out hoping they'd finally see your value and instead you were met with coldness, silence, or indifference? You're not crazy, you're not needy. You've been programmed, conditioned to believe that love is something you have to earn, not something you receive freely, and so you cling, you obsess. You replay every conversation, overanalyze every text, and take their emotional withdrawal as a sign that you weren't enough. That is the loop, that's the lie. Avoidants are emotionally unavailable, but it's not about you. It never was. Their distance isn't proof of your unworthiness, it's a reflection of their inner wiring. But when you're wounded, you don't see that. You make their silence mean something about you, and so the loop continues. You chase, they pull away, you panic, they detach more. And your self-worth erodes with every unanswered message, every ignored attempt, every emotional breadcrumb you try to survive on. Today, it ends. No more reaching out, no more checking their status, no more excuses for their behavior. This isn't about punishing them, this is about rescuing you. Because every time you break your own boundaries to stay connected to someone who can't meet you emotionally, you abandon yourself. The first day of no contact isn't about waiting for them to miss you. It's about finally choosing you. It's about disrupting the nervous system loop that says you need them to feel okay. You don't, you never did, that was the illusion. The most powerful decision you can make is this: I will not reach out, I will not chase, I will sit with the ache, the craving, the fear, and I will rise through it. This is the beginning of your freedom. The beginning of you standing in the fire of your own transformation, not to get them back, but to get yourself back. You've been waiting for a sign. This is it. Silence is your first act of self-respect. This is where the rewiring begins. When you go no contact, you're not just removing a person from your life, you're breaking a bond that your nervous system has relied on, even if that bond was painful. And when that cord is cut, your body will react like it's in danger. It will scream for the familiar, not because it was good, but because it was known. That's withdrawal. This is the day most people quit. This is the day the silence feels louder than ever. You feel that rising panic, the urge to fix it, to check their story, to just see how they're doing. You'll tell yourself it's harmless to look. It's just one message, but it's not harmless. It's a hit, a dose of the drug, and it drags you back into the very cycle that broke you. You're not missing them. You're missing the emotional hit, the roller coaster your body got used to, the highs of brief attention, the crushing lows of their distance, the constant state of uncertainty. That unpredictability became your normal. But here's the truth. Your body learned to associate chaos with connection. And now that you've stepped away from it, your system is in shock. You may feel anxious, irritable, even physically unwell. Your mind may spiral, convincing you that you've made a mistake, that if you just tried a little harder, they'd come back. But listen closely, this is not your intuition speaking. This is withdrawal. This is your old identity fighting for survival. And withdrawal is a sign of progress, not failure. It means the pattern is losing its grip. It means you've stopped feeding the loop. It means your nervous system is beginning to detox from emotional inconsistency. But like any detox, it hurts before it heals. This is where you build emotional muscle. You sit in the discomfort without reaching for the numbing agent. You breathe through the ache. You remind yourself again and again, just because I miss them doesn't mean I need them. Just because I feel fear doesn't mean I'm unsafe. I am allowed to feel the pain and still choose me. You are not weak for craving contact. That craving is just evidence of how long you've lived disconnected from yourself. And today, every second you resist the urge to break no contact, you reclaim a part of you that's been hidden under survival mode. This pain has a purpose. And if you can sit with it, not run, not numb, not chase, you'll come out on the other side, not just free from them, but free from everything inside you that ever believed you needed to settle for emotional scraps. Your voice has been silenced for too long, not by them but by you, by the version of you that learned somewhere along the way that your truth was too much, that your needs made people leave, that speaking up, asking for more, drawing a line, would result in abandonment. So you swallowed your feelings, you minimized your pain, you smiled through neglect. You stayed silent when you were hurting, all to keep the connection alive. But what you didn't see was that every time you did that, a piece of you was lost. Every time you chose their comfort over your clarity, you shrunk, you became smaller, quieter, more palatable, and it wasn't just silence in words, it was silence in energy, in not expressing when you were triggered, in not admitting when something felt off, in not naming what your heart really needed. Avoidant dynamics train you to do this. They're hot, and cold behavior makes you second guess your reality. Their emotional distance convinces you that your needs are a burden. So you compensate. You become easygoing, low maintenance, understanding. But the truth is, you've been bending so much to be loved that you forgot how to stand tall. Today, that ends. You don't need their permission to speak. You don't need a green light to feel, and you definitely don't need their presence to validate your truth. This is the day you reclaim the parts of yourself you've been suppressing, the anger, the grief, the boundaries you abandoned, the words you rehearsed but never said. Write it down, all of it. Write the letter you'll never send, not to guilt them but to free you. Let your truth pour out uncensored. The pain, the confusion, the moments where you felt invisible, name them, own them. You don't need them to hear it, you need to hear it. You need to stop betraying yourself to be loved by someone who doesn't even know how to receive love. This is your liberation, not the perfect comeback text, not finally getting closure from them. Your freedom lives in your voice, in speaking your truth, even if your voice shakes, even if no one listens. Because when you stop silencing yourself to protect someone else's discomfort, you finally start honoring your own soul, and that is the beginning of everything real. There's a part of you that's been running this whole show from the shadows, a younger you, a version of yourself that was never truly seen, held, or emotionally protected. You think your pain started with this avoidant partner, but it goes deeper than that. The moment they pulled away, the silence, the shutdown, the emotional coldness, it didn't just hurt you in the present. It activated the child inside you who remembers what it felt like to be emotionally abandoned long before this person ever showed up. That child is the one who kept reaching out. That child is the one who felt like they were the problem when someone else disconnected. That child is the one who mistook rejection for something personal and made it their job to fix it. So now, when someone avoids, withdraws, or goes silent, it's not just triggering, it's familiar. It brings you back to the earliest moments where love and pain were fused together. This is the unhealed loop. You don't just want your avoidant partner to love you. Deep down, you're begging someone to choose you in a way that no one ever did when it truly mattered. But here's the most important truth. It's not their job to rescue that child. It's yours. Today you turn inward. Today you close your eyes and go back to the moments you've tried to forget. The ones where you felt invisible, where you were punished for being sensitive, where you learned that staying quiet and small was safer than being seen and rejected. Find that child, visualize them. What do they look like? What are they feeling? Now imagine kneeling down beside them, not to tell them to be strong, not to tell them to get over it, but to simply say, I see you, I love you, and I'm never leaving you again. The healing doesn't happen when the avoidant finally chooses you. It begins when you choose that inner child over and over again, especially when it's uncomfortable, especially when it feels easier to chase someone else for validation. You don't heal emotional abandonment by finding someone who won't abandon you. You heal it by proving to yourself, day by day, that you will never emotionally abandon you again. That is how the pattern breaks. That is how you finally come home. You didn't fall in love with who they really were, you fell in love with what you hoped they would become. And that's the hardest truth to swallow, because so much of the pain you're carrying doesn't come from the relationship itself. It comes from grieving the fantasy you built around it. Avoidants don't show up with obvious cruelty. They show up with just enough warmth to keep you holding on, just enough vulnerability to keep you guessing, just enough connection to make you believe something deeper is just around the corner. And in those moments you tell yourself, if I just love them a little more, if I stay patient, they'll open up, they'll choose me. But here's what you must understand: you weren't in love with their reality. You were in love with their potential. You were holding on to promises they never actually made, but ones you desperately needed to believe in. You filled in the gaps. You romanticized the silence. You mistook mixed signals for depth, emotional absence for mystery, and unavailability for challenge. It's not your fault. That fantasy was survival. It helped you stay. It gave you hope. It made the chaos feel meaningful. But now that illusion is suffocating you. It's time to stop fighting for what it could be and start facing what it actually was. Write it out. The nights you cried yourself to sleep, the moments you begged for clarity and got silence, the times they made you feel crazy for needing something basic: communication, presence, emotional safety. Don't minimize those things. Don't wrap them in spiritual language or healing potential. Call it what it was: emotional neglect, emotional avoidance, a connection based more on fear than on truth, and then burn the fantasy. Let it die, because as long as you're worshiping the version of them that only existed in your head, you're unavailable for the love that's real. The more you idealize their potential, the more you betray your reality. And reality is where your power lies. You're not here to fix them. You're not here to teach them how to love. You're here to recognize when someone can't meet you and walk away without making it your fault. The person you imagined them to be was beautiful, but they were never really there. You were. And now it's time to stop chasing ghosts and start choosing yourself. You can't just remove something from your life and expect the emptiness to heal you. Nature doesn't work that way, and neither does your mind. When you take something out, something else will fill the space. If you don't choose what that is, the past will creep back in. The craving will return. The loop will replay. That's why this moment is so critical, because now you're not just letting go, you're replacing. Every day you fed the pattern. You checked the phone, scrolled their social media, replayed memories like they were sacred. That input shaped your reality, your mind, your nervous system, your emotions. They were wired around lack, around waiting, around anxiety and hope living side by side. But you can't heal that level of intensity with silence alone. You need to flood your system with something different, something powerful, nourishing, and new. This is where radical replacement comes in. You have to deliberately choose what you now give your energy to. Not casually, not occasionally, relentlessly. Replace the playlist that reminds you of them with music that empowers you. Replace the late night spiraling with guided meditations that bring you home to yourself. Replace the endless inner questioning with affirmations that rewire your subconscious. I am safe, I am worthy, I do not chase, I attract. You begin moving your body daily, not to change how you look, but to reconnect with your power. You surround yourself with messages of strength, stories of survival, voices that remind you that what you're feeling is temporary and that your healing is inevitable. You stop asking, why did they leave? And start asking, what part of me believed I had to be chosen to feel whole? This is not about distractions. This is about a complete nervous system reset. You are starving the pattern and feeding your rebirth. You're building a new internal environment, one where chaos is not welcomed, where love isn't earned through pain, where you don't have to sacrifice your peace just to feel connected. Every time you choose something new, something healthy, something aligned with your highest self, you are sending a message to your brain. I'm no longer that person who begs for breadcrumbs. I'm becoming the version of me who knows I deserve the whole damn feast. Radical replacement is not just a step in healing. It is the engine of your transformation. There comes a moment after the silence, after the cravings, after the spiral, when something shifts inside you. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's undeniable. It's the quiet realization that you didn't break. You rebuilt, that the very thing you thought you couldn't survive, you did. And you didn't just survive it, you transformed through it. You begin to see clearly now, not through the lens of desperation or fear of loss, but through the eyes of someone who has reclaimed their power one moment of self-respect at a time. You see that their distance wasn't a reflection of your unworthiness, but of their own inability to connect. You stop trying to decode every word, every silence, every pullback because you finally understand. That wasn't love, that was a wound disguised as a connection, and you don't need it anymore. The version of you who begged for their attention, who doubted their own value, who settled for inconsistency just to feel something, that version is gone. Because you chose yourself, not in a vague, fluffy way, but in the most raw, committed, courageous way possible. You chose yourself in the pain, in the moments when it would have been easier to relapse, when one text, one apology, one breadcrumb would have sent you spiraling again. But you said no, you stood still, and that changed everything. Owning your power isn't about pretending it didn't hurt. It's about being honest enough to say, yes, it broke me, but I rebuilt, and I'll never betray myself again just to feel loved. You begin walking differently, talking differently. Your energy shifts. You no longer chase. You no longer beg. You no longer shrink yourself to be chosen, because now you choose you. The power isn't in getting them back. It's in finally understanding you never needed them to feel whole. You needed this experience to break the illusion that you had to earn love, prove your worth, or fix someone to feel safe. Now you know better. You are not the person who waits for closure. You are the person who creates it. You are not the person who clings to what hurts. You are the person who releases it, even when your hands are trembling. That is real power, and now it's yours. Not because they gave it to you, but because you finally remembered where it was all along. This journey wasn't just about staying silent for 7 days. It was about walking into the parts of yourself you've been avoiding for years, the fear of being alone, the ache of not being chosen, the relentless pull towards someone who made you question your worth. But every moment you stayed with yourself, every second you resisted the urge to reach out. You were rewiring something deeper than behavior. You were rewiring identity. You were telling your nervous system, I am safe in my own presence. I am enough without performance. I am not defined by who stays or leaves. And those are the most powerful beliefs a wounded heart can reclaim. You broke the loop. You faced the withdrawal. You sat in the fire of discomfort without begging someone else to put it out. That alone makes you rare. In a world full of emotional shortcuts and numbing distractions, you chose courage. You chose to pause instead of pursue, to feel instead of flee. That is not weakness. That is strength most people never access. Because it's easier to chase someone than it is to sit with the version of yourself that believes you need them to survive. But you sat. You faced the shadow. And you didn't just sit through the storm, you grew roots in it. You reclaimed your voice, the one you've silenced for far too long in the name of keeping peace. You found your inner child not to judge them, but to hold them, protect them, speak to them in the way no one ever did. You shattered the fantasy, no longer hypnotized by potential. You chose reality over illusion. And when you finally stopped waiting for someone else to choose you, you realized the only choice that ever mattered was your own. That's where healing lives, not in the return of the avoidant, but in the return to yourself. So now you walk differently, not because everything is perfect, but because something in you is finally whole. You don't chase closure, you are closure. You don't chase love, you become it. You don't just survive emotional abandonment, you alchemize it into wisdom, clarity, and power. The 7-day no contact plan wasn't the end. It was the beginning, the foundation of a new standard, a new identity, a new way of being. And now that you've met the strongest version of yourself, there's no going back. Not to them, not to the past, not to self-abandonment. From here forward, it's you fully, unapologetically, and powerfully aligned. Thank you so much for watching. If this message resonated with your heart, if even one part of you felt seen, understood, or empowered, then this journey was worth it. You are not alone, you are not broken, and your healing is not only possible, it's already in motion. Every step you take toward yourself is a step away from the pain that once defined you, and if you've made it this far, you're already rewriting the story. If you found value in this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more healing insights, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a message that your soul may need. Until next time, take care of your heart, protect your peace, and always choose you. Goodbye for now, but your transformation has only just begun.